Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Arwin, Paul, 10th Man and Chocolate Sane in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Good
Hello,
morning.
hello, hello.
Hello, and very enthusiastic. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not from Area 51. Only in the math.
All
You mean you
tangents
actually-
are curved. Sorry.
You mean you've actually been to Area 51?
Only in the model.
Because you always
I was going to ask that question.
talk about.
Whoever that was in Discord, can you repeat your question to 10th Man?
Oh, that's Paul. I was going to ask him. You've actually been to Area 51? Because I thought that was a top secret place. Because you always say that you've been to places. You say you've been to places that there's no curvature. So you've been to Area 51?
Yeah, 10 years ago, because I'm 61 right now.
What the hell does you being 61 have to do with validation that you've been to Area 51? That was the biggest non-sequitur ever.
I had to pass through
Area
51 to get to
51, not
61.
age.
Why am I
Well, wait a
being
minute. Wait a minute.
grumpy?
Hold on. How is an area, which is an area which is like my floor is an area, and time the same?
Because at
place and
that
time.
time, I was at 51.
Ugh.
So is time an area? Is that what you're saying now?
At that moment, that second, that nanosecond, yes. In the past.
1.21
gigawatts.
Well, no, wait a minute. Wait a
To the
minute.
rescue. Where's my wingman?
Arwin, can you sort this out?
What?
Just tell him off or something.
Well,
Right, let's move on. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Not from Area 51.
Oh, God, somebody shoot him.
I'll go on mute.
Axial rotation? In all seriousness, anybody? Anybody at all?
No evidence.
Anybody want to claim Coriolis effect? No? Moving on. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Black Swan.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
In the sky.
That's the one.
I don't know. In the sky.
186 million.
I think it's only in her eyes.
Hold on. Go ahead despite everything. Just 1 second, Owen.
186 million kilometer.
Did you just give us a number?
Yeah.
How did you come?
Yeah, it's double. It's double of the value.
You've doubled the 96 million. Any particular reason why you've doubled the
No,
R base 96 million?
93, I think.
Was it 93? Horses for courses.
Because if you put double, you put distance double. Put every celestial objects. Put double, air double, moon double, everything will, and the numbers are right.
I see. So what you're saying is, if you times it by 2, you result in double the value of the R-based assumption of a 93 million mile sun. And therefore, because it works out correctly if you double it, that makes it correct. Because it is correct, that is indeed double. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's perfect.
For example, let's say how
I don't know if we need an example. I don't know
how
if we
much
need
is sun?
I don't know,
how
guys.
much is
This
that
sounds like
bigger
a lot
than
of
a
double
moon?
speak to me.
No, this is double speak, but it's very good double speak. I mean, by the baller standards, this is pretty good. Carry on despite everything. This isn't bad.
Because all dimensions, I don't know, moon, it's, I don't know, 200 times or 400, I don't know the measurements, 200 times or sun, it's 200 times bigger.
It doesn't really matter, just make it up.
Okay, it's 400 times bigger.
Perfect.
It's double. Yeah, everything is double, and it will work for sure. It will work. All math will work.
I'm pretty sure we can do the maths for that. We can double things, right? And it definitely works out to twice as much.
And we can put that in the books and say this is the new, measurements because it's working.
Yeah, that's right.
I got a question.
Go on, Chocolate.
Where did we get those numbers in order to double them?
Oh, I'll let you know. What they have to do is they first have to assume the Earth is a sphere. Then they have to measure a geometric horizon that cannot be seen or measured and only exists in the maths before it's been measured. Once they've acquired this R value for an Earth as a sphere with a geometric horizon that cannot be seen or measured, they then take that R value and assume, based on this assumption of an R, based on a sphere Earth that's assumed and an R value that can't be measured, that Venus has the same value of R. Then they apply Kepler's third. Oh no, I'm not done. There's still more, believe it or not.
Okay.
Once you've assumed Venus is the same size as Earth, you can then apply Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion, observe the transit of Venus, and with that you can extract out everything. The distances, the sizes, it's marvellous. You just need a couple of assumptions. Venus is the same size as Earth. That little light in the sky, that's actually a rock the same size as us. Thank you very much, Christian Huygens, for that assumption. It's not been in any way validated or verified that the light in the sky is even a rock, let alone the same size as us, or that we are a rock, or that we have a radius that can't be measured. That bit's been validated and told to us ad nausea. We cannot see the geometric horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, that used to block boats and buildings. So we know we can't derive an R value. We know you can't therefore assume Earth has that R value because you can't see it or measure it. But Christian Huygens used that R value that can't be seen or measured to assume Venus was the same size, so he could apply a load of mathematics and give you all the derivative values for everything in the universe. There you go. How concise was that?
Can I answer that?
Answer
simple.
it. That's just the facts of the matter.
No, the Paul question where I get the wrong thing was this one. They presumed wrong the Venus. Venus is double of
Of course!
side,
I'm sorry, I forgot to add that in. Christian Huygens needs to be superseded by despite everything. Because it's not Christian Huygens' assumption. If we just slot in an extra one that it's all double, that extra layer of bullshit will probably throw a few people off, I'm sure.
Nathan.
and
Hey, Brian.
Hey, how are things?
Very well. I don't know if there's any comedic conclusions by despite everything, just in case, just so you don't get rumpused. Anything you wanted to add to the end of that little comedic aside, despite everything?
do you understand now that it's 186? Don't lie, people. That is 93.
I don't understand. Me thick. Me thick.
Okay, can I add my my thing again?
No, Brian's
Yeah.
just asked for permission.
Oh, okay.
Afterwards, yeah. Go ahead, Brian. Then Arwen.
Thanks, Nathan. I put a diagram into Master B last night, showing what I put two in, but the second one is better. Be the more recent one, showing what the actual radius of a globe Earth would be according to the Black Swan photograph. If you want to have a look at it, you might want to share it on screen.
Okay, I've got it up on screen right now.
Okay. I'm just on my phone, so I'm just on the Hangout, so I can't see YouTube.
Yeah, but you know what it's on. You know what's on it. It starts.
Yeah.
It's yellow, I think. Over 260,000 miles, right?
Yeah.
So this is. I tried to qualify this. Even with this, it's hard to get this across to somebody. If I could just steal or do it myself, and although it's lending credence to the rhetoric if I do it, somebody showed it once with a basketball and a golf ball, and they asked passers-by, like, how far away do you think the moon is compared to these two objects if they were roughly scaled as the moon and as the Earth? And people would put it, a couple of feet away and things like that. And then when they said to the passerby, well, this is actually how far they are, they're walking yards and yards and yards away. It's a significant distance. Well, based on the black swan, if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959, then you can't have the geometric horizon be the horizon in the black swan. That's kind of the point. But if you were to just assume, well, no, it's physically grown, the Earth blew up like a giant balloon that day, and we're going to use the same horizon they claim is geometric and capable of deriving R from it as the geometric horizon, and we'll derive R based on the same method that Al-Biruni used, you end up with Earth having the orbital path of the moon as its equator. Bigger than, actually, but just so you can visualize it. An enormous ball in their maths.
It's just the radius, too. It's not even the full diameter. The radius of Earth becomes 264,000 miles, where the path of the moon is only supposed to be 240,000 miles away.
Yeah, it's a bit further. But yeah, it blows the idea of us having a geometric horizon, Earth curve, that is, so far out of the water it's untrue. Thank you, Brian. Anything else you wanted to add?
Boys. Just National Geographic did a great thing on the distance in the heliocentric model between the Earth and the Moon and the Sun and the other supposed planets and stuff. But you can't show that because you get striked. But they did a brilliant version of it, where they went out to the salt flats, I think, or one of the desert areas, and did it across a flat plain.
But they did it with a big beach ball at that scale, right? Or a Bazorb ball or something big, I would assume, if they're doing it on some vast area. They must have needed bigger objects.
They did it at night time, and each one was a light. They had a light inside each one. So they had the moon and everything to scale, the sun to scale in the heliocentric model and its distance and size. The Earth to scale what that would be in its distance and size from the sun.
Was that done in a desert?
Yes,
I remember seeing something like that. Yeah. And they had to get in a car and drive to the point where they put the outer planets. It was that far away from the sun. It was kind of ridiculous, but
yeah. I mean, I'd steal it from Jaren. Jaren's done it in his computer model on several occasions, but the problem is that when he shows it, he has to scroll. It's like scroll on his little mouse wheel to get the scale out so far, and you end up with these two little dots on a picture on your TV screen that's in a computer model, and it just doesn't do it justice just how far it is. So you need somebody actually, like I say, stood with a whatever size ball, let's say a football, and a golf ball, so you've got roughly the scale that people are familiar with, and then show that person walking 25, 35, whatever paces away, so you can get an idea of how far that is, and then say, right, that's how big we've got to make this football. And you're like, whoa, that's a big old football then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's how would perspective apply at that distance? Would we be able to see anything about it even?
How do you mean?
Well, presupposing that the moon is this ball of the size that they say it is, and the Earth is a ball, right? This is very presuppositional. Would you technically even be able to see the moon based on laws of perspective at that virtual distance?
I don't know about the moon itself, but certainly there are anomalies that, based on what they calculate out, certain things that you can see with the naked eye, they shouldn't work. I think, God, Pete Shea's going to have a field day with this, isn't he? So Aristarchus is something that you shouldn't be able to really see based on its angular size, from what I understand. If I'm wrong on that, someone will just correct me in the maths, and I'll just take the shit and say I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's the correct assertion in terms of the heliocentric rhetoric. You know, based on their sizes of stuff, we shouldn't, based on its angular size, be able to see that quote-unquote crater. It's just too small, but we can see it with the naked eye.
Right. That's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah, not the moon itself, though, based on their... You know, we should be able to see the moon in their rhetoric based on its distances, I think.
Yeah, but when you zoom in on it, should you see more detail then?
That's what Zoom does. What are you talking about? Yeah, you should.
Right.
Anyway,
I know we can now, right? I've done it. But just trying to imagine what would it really be like when it was actually a ball out there? Would it work the same? I don't know.
if you're asking me
think about it,
to,
right? Let's say you were to try to do something silly like zoom in on a football stadium in California from New York, right? Across that's about what, 3,000 miles or something like that? A little more than that, maybe. But that can never happen, right? But we can zoom in on the moon, which is 240,000 miles away,
Right.
and see craters and I mean, come on, or supposed craters, whatever those things are. Like, come on.
I got a question.
Why? Because we're looking up. Come on.
Okay,
That's my point too. Exactly.
Go ahead.
The angular side should simply decrease over distance. It doesn't matter how thin the air is to order to negate refraction, actual refraction, whatever. You know,
let's just
at
round
some
this
point
point
it's
out.
going to be too small to see, no matter what.
Okay, let's just round it out, right? We don't know the actual size of the moon, and while we can discuss all day the not actual size and what it might actually do, it's kind of irrelevant. We don't know its size, and this distance is based on R, which has been debunked. So as much as I'm enjoying begging the question in this idea that you've got an Earth with a sphere and a geometric horizon that would be much bigger based on the black swan, I think we've exhausted it now. I'm sure Neil wants to add one more point on exactly that, though. Go ahead, Neil.
No, it's different because my son was asking me, because I could have told you, he's been like sitting there listening to the shows as they're working. And he asked me a question. He's like, okay, but if that's the case, how come we, with a strong enough telescope, we can't see the sun at any time of the day?
I don't know. I don't know what the sun is.
What?
I don't know. It's a reasonable question, right? But it's like asking me why the sky is blue or why it turns black.
Right.
And their assertions within the heliocentric model absolutely have an explanation for that. But I don't know what any of those things are anymore. Now, when I said that to Vice, everyone laughed. It's like, what, me saying I don't know what the moon is? Well, I don't. Now, the fact that you think you do, because you've got an R value, and I don't need to repeat that whole spiel, you know, that's fine, you know, believe whatever you like, but none of it's based on empirical scientific evidence. You haven't got anything to justify this just so story. It is just that, a just so story. Me, I don't buy into these just so stories anymore, therefore I don't know what it is. Don't know how big it is. That's why I ask daily. We ask collectively daily, because we all collectively agree, at least on these panels, we don't know what it is.
Right. I'm trying to figure it out.
Could I say something to Neil on that, Nathan?
Go ahead.
Neil, we can't see, like, we wouldn't be able to see whatever the sun is. You know, we can only see so far, even with the best camera we could buy, which would be a P1000 for distance. You could still, under good conditions and maybe not even too much of a high elevation, you might see 30, 40 miles. If you had an infrared filter on that, you'd see further, but you still have a very limited view. I mean, maybe in some of these big observatories, they'd have a telescope that'd be powerful enough to maybe try and see what your son is asking. But can any of us go there and use these things? No. So, you know, we're very limited. You know, what telescope can he buy that he can see through atmosphere and from ground level or whatever? You know.
Neil?
No, he was literally just asking out of curiosity, because I know in his mind he's thinking the globe Earth makes more sense because it's spinning, and therefore the sun, you know, the Earth is spinning away from the sun. This portion of the Earth is turning away from the sun, therefore it's lit up in another area. I understand the way he's thinking, but you know, I don't have an answer for him.
As I keep saying, you don't have to provide one. Now, obviously, he's a family member, and often we discuss on the show, or spitball, speculate, whatever you want to call it, what things might be. Obviously, we resign ourselves to the fact that we're not validating these things. We are merely spitballing. We did it for half the show yesterday with Arwen. It was good fun. But by the same token, there is actually a standardized rhetoric where they say, this is what it is. This is how big it is. This is how far it is. And beyond that, you don't have to make an assertion. In fact, it's one of the things I enjoy about being a flat earther. It does make the world a lot more wondrous, as Becky describes science incorrectly. Anyway, moving on from Dr. Becky.
Oh, wait, before you move on, no.
Go on, Owen. Go.
Sorry,
Go on, go.
I want to round it out. I want to round out this segment of housekeeping with the beginning and saying that somebody said, "Yeah, the sun is somewhere up there in the sky," and I want to say, no, it's not. The sun is only in your eyeball.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Arwin. I'm going to shout out a few super chats. So, I've got a new channel member, Hyena, Kamikaze Gilmore. Thank you very much for joining as a channel member. Really appreciate your support. Hopefully you enjoy the Uncut and After shows, which come out straight after the live show finishes. Sort of, because obviously we still have to record the after show. But nevertheless, as soon as it's finished, you can get access to it as a member. And sometimes I'll trim out little sections of it, but it goes out, I don't know, some days later on the second channel. So either subscribe to my second channel to keep up to date with Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After show, or become a Flat Earth Debate Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, as Kamikaze Gilmore has done, and then you get access to it pretty much straight away. Also, shout out to Cleary. Thank you very much for the super chat. Any evidence that Neil is not Joe Pesci? You talking to me? Thank you very much for the super chat, Cleary. Really appreciate the support. Shout out to FE News. I appreciate the sentiment and the super chat. It says, Arwin is ace. I absolutely agree. Arwin is ace. You're not wrong, FE News. Thank you for the super chat. And also, Emma UK. Subscribe today, Emma UK. She's got a channel. She runs a show. Very cordial that it is. Thank you for the super chat. She says, episode 1200. Yeah, I only realised that when we were setting up the pre-show. So, yeah, good days, happy days. I'll do a new playlist from 1201 onwards tomorrow. Hey, exciting times. Thank you for the super chat, Emma UK. Really appreciate your support. Let's move on with housekeeping.
Episode 1200.
It is. It's episode 1200.
That's awesome.
It is. Very cool. So, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nah.
Nope, none whatsoever.
Only the screensaver that you got that I keep staring at every time I look at my phone.
Fair enough. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure, like we're all breathing, without the necessary antecedent, clue is in the question, of a container to press upon?
But then you wouldn't have the pressure. That's a problem.
What, to have pressure, you've got to be pressing on something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Force exerted on the walls of a container. Yeah.
I mean, I think they were giving us a clue with putting the word press in the word pressure.
Or a subtle hint with Boyle's law, the second law of thermodynamics, gas law. Yeah, subtle.
Yeah, you could just barely pick up on it, It's right there, but not.
So yeah, gas pressure without a container. See, this doesn't do it any justice, but this is how the pictures are always shown. So you've got the moon and Earth looking like they're right next to each other. Well, you couldn't even fit the moon at its scale in the heliocentric model on this picture. It'd have to be about 10 times the size of this frame to get the moon to look correct scale with the Earth. Nevertheless, that wasn't the point I was going to make, or why I paused this to show this image. This is high pressure gas, and this is a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. Yeah, what's going to happen? Well, I'll tell you. We know what's going to happen because we've got natural law that describes it, and it's occurring always without exception. That's how it gets to become a natural law. Now, if this was in any way capable of violation, it wouldn't be a law. Nevertheless, what's going to happen based on this, let's call it what it is, cartoon, is this high pressure gas that somehow is there, that's formed on the outside of a sphere in a vacuum. And we'll just brush past the fact that it's formed to begin with. Don't know how. There's nothing for it to press on. It would have dispersed already. But we'll brush past that relatively slowly. The fact that it wouldn't be capable of developing the gas for me to make this example. But we'll make it because we've got a cartoon with it on it anyway. That's high pressure gas. And what's high pressure gas doing? Well, it's expanding at high speed in all directions. And the only thing that's going to stop it is it hitting the walls of a container. That's how you qualify it as having pressure. The force it exerts on the walls of its containment. And it will take the shape of that containment. Not the shape of a ball in a vacuum. No, what it's going to do, I'll finally get to the conclusion. built it up enough, I think, is fill the space. That's what gas does. Expands at high speeds in all directions to fill the available volume. And this is claimed to be your fundamentalist religious zealot belief that this is what the sky is, a vacuum. No, natural law dictates that the gas would fill the space.
The gradient.
But the gradient. Yeah, to
I
have a gas
wonder-
pressure
I wonder
gradient,
when
you
they're
need a
gonna
container
start
also.
depicting the moon in Earth's atmosphere, like in pictures like this. Like, are they going to start doing that at some point? Because that's their story now, right?
Oh, right. What you're saying is the cartoon artists better make their better sharpen up their act as well, right?
Exactly. Like, what's going on? Let's keep up to date with the bullshit model. Let's go. I want to see the Earth's atmosphere extending out past the moon, because it now extends about 391,000 miles. So
Maybe
yeah.
that vacuum somehow pushing down.
Say that again.
Maybe vacuum pushing down.
Maybe the
the
vacuum's
vacuum
pushing
pushes
down.
down.
No, the vacuum's just a space for the gas to fill. So, here we go. This is another
Well,
graphic. It's also a housekeeping question. So, any scientific evidence of gravity, first of all?
The vacuum pushing down.
No. Scientific evidence.
Mostly down.
The keyword scientific.
Not in the heliocentric model.
Okay, so I've got a question. The panel can see this, the Discord can't, the audience can. So you've got this dude, right, on this poster for gravity. And he's got this spacesuit on him, right? Or her. And that's stopping the gas the person's breathing from filling the space. You all with me so far?
Yep.
Yes.
So, given that this dude in this, you know, they're claiming this is an accurate, you know, it's a movie about reality, gravity, right? Given that this dude needs a spacesuit to stop the gas he's breathing filling the space, what's stopping this gas filling the space?
Oh, Nathan, I have an answer to that.
Is it gravity?
Yes, like if his spacesuit would break, it wouldn't go in all directions.
Belief.
It would go down. It would
Go
boom.
down, go boom boom. But I've just explained, Arwin, that gas expands in all directions to fill the available volume it has to fill. Right, that's why this dude, you know, the gas is going to be filling his entire spacesuit because it just fills the available volume it's got to fill. That's what gas does. In a spacesuit, it'll fill the suit, right? Unless it's isolated in the helmet. But that aside, the point is that that's what gas does. It's gas law, second law of thermodynamics, entropy. You know, that's what it does.
Maybe
I know what
what
happens.
happened was when they were designing the astronaut suits, they understood, right, that the gas would fill the space. So you would need a suit, aka a container, to maintain it. But then maybe they looked at the Earth and said, wait a minute, maybe we can think like Rumpus and say the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth.
What, a
That's
natural
it.
law? Hold on. A law of nature applicable always, discovered in nature on Earth, that doesn't apply to Earth. Well, that's absurd, Chocolate. It does apply.
Nathan, I have
Are
to
you sure?
reference another.
Because I mean, they
Wasn't
say
the Earth-
Rumpus says it doesn't.
Oh, does he now?
Isn't
All right,
the Earth
with
basically
the
where
natural.
the law was established?
I've got the answer.
Oh, here we go.
Well, man, I was trying to give an answer.
Oh, everyone's got an answer. This is good.
Oh, okay, I have that then, man.
All right, yeah, I have to reference another movie for my answer. It's called Mars with Matt Damon, and Matt Damon used a little prick hole to use it as a jet to get to the tether line. Remember that?
Matt Damon.
I remember that.
I mean,
Really?
the Martian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Martian.
That one,
yeah,
right?
and
How you like them
that
out?
was after.
Yeah, he used a spacesuit propelling.
Don't rumpus my punchline. That was after he ate crappy potatoes.
Oh, boom, boom.
Wow.
So, no one's taking
While you're
it. So,
speaking about movies, it happened in the real.
Oh,
The
I
astronaut
can give
closed
an
the
answer
hole
on
with the feet.
heliocentric.
go despite everything. Go, go.
the astronaut closed the hole in the ISS with the finger, and that was the demonstration that gas no go out. He saved the.
That's not cheeky.
The current. And it's fucking. And it's not fake news. It's real news.
I'm trying to talk, Shaiki. I was in before you. Please. 1 second.
Go on, Brian. Go on.
The current answer, the actual current answer, is the speed of light. The reason for that is the speed of light.
Sorry.
And the speed of light is based on
The speed of light stops gas pressure expanding in all directions as per the second law of thermodynamics. That's nonsense.
Yeah. That's what the current answer is.
That's the speed.
The speed
gas.
of light, a measurement of how fast something travels, stops gas pressure expanding in all directions in line with the second law of thermodynamics applicable always. No, Brian, no.
Wait, are you saying that the gas pressure cannot expand within the vacuum of outer space faster than it could physically move as the speed of light? So there's a limiter to the expansion in all directions based on the assumption that nothing can go.
Stop. We're not talking about light. We're talking about gas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
What you mean? You can't just stop at looking at stuff?
Observe and declare. Just so story along with your observation of natural phenomena. Well, that kind of sounds like science, I suppose. You could just look at Jupiter and go, you know that Jupiter light? Well, that's actually a ball of gas in a vacuum in violation of natural law, you know. Why? Well, because I've looked at it.
Come on, we looked at it and we did spectroscopy on it.
Jupiter has the same storm like 400 years.
Hold on. Go ahead. I think it was Paul.
Jupiter has the same storm in the last 400 years.
Storm? What, gas pressure?
Storm.
No, mate, that violates natural law. Moving on to Paul. What was that you said, Paul? Spectroscopy?
Yeah, we looked up, we used spectroscopy and said it's made of hydrogen or helium or all this other stuff. That's what we said.
I see.
Ooh, I got a good question.
Oh, God, Darwin, hold on. So, spectroscopy, you say. It's interesting you should say that because we've got Dr. John Dee. Now, Dr. John Dee explained to us how when he did spectroscopy, he had like a chamber that isolated absolutely everything other than the thing he was trying to identify the spectra of. But he contrasted that with this open-ended thing that was looking into the sky through all the clouds and all the atmosphere and through 93 million miles of claimed space that's not been examined and we don't know the contents of. Apparently, we're off by a factor of something astronomical to what's actually out there. But in spite of all that, we can identify the spectra of this light in the sky with this sham known as stellar spectroscopy. Not isolated, not in any way valid, definitely about as million miles away from scientific as you can get, but that's what they claim to know that it's a burning ball of gas violating natural law. Stellar spectroscopy. Oh, no. That's a sham, Paul. Real spectroscopy needs isolation to examine what they study to make it valid.
Well, come on now, Nathan. We know we have a pressure gradient, and the pressure gets less and less, so we know the medium.
Sorry,
so
hold on. Ham-handed segue into a straw man. Woo! Alarm bells. Hello. Ham-handed segue into a straw man. Sorry, so the spectroscopy they use, not valid then, Paul. You understand that, right?
I know, but we do know what the medium is, Nathan. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So why would a normal spectroscopy expert not just say, sod this container thing that I need to isolate everything away from the thing I'm examining. I'll just do it in a classroom with everything around me. I mean, why don't they do that then, Paul?
Well, I guess we'd have to say that terrestrial spectroscopy, I can't even say the word spectroscopy, is different than celestial. Was it the word celestial? I can't even say the word spectroscopy.
I see. So because they're different and one isolates the single thing that they're examining and the other has all sorts of other crap polluting the path between you and the thing that you don't know what it is that you're examining in the sky, that you've never been to, touched, validated. That's different, is it? Yeah, no shit.
Right. So
Isn't it peculiar that the sun is supposedly made of hydrogen, yet hydrogen is also the least dense material matter we know of? So hydrogen would be sitting at the highest point of our atmosphere, and that's also what the sun is supposedly made of, using stellar spectroscopy.
I'm going to take my
Isn't that a
globe
bit of
hat
a
off.
peculiar kind of a thing?
Just summarise this.
Yeah, I'm going to
shite.
take my globe
This
hat
is
off.
nonsense. Nobody knows what the sun is. It doesn't matter what they claim. Doesn't matter. Nobody knows what the sun is. That's the bottom line here. They can claim it all day long. We can debunk it all day long. It's an extremely wondrous light in the sky. Now, I just need the comments to tell me how I can worship it.
So let me take my Glober hat off for a second. And honestly, even their own rhetoric says that the gas is kind of layered up, because at higher altitudes, there's helium and hydrogen at the higher levels of the atmosphere. So you're having to look through that to trying to determine what's up there.
Yeah, of course.
You can argue, you can argue that they put us... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, merely looking at it, you can easily establish what's inside a presupposed burning ball of gas in a sky vacuum violating natural law. Not only do they know what it's made of on the surface, they also can describe the further second law of thermodynamics, that a violation that occurs as you get further away from the thing and it gets hotter. It's amazing how many different second law of thermodynamics violations the sun's got in their rhetoric.
Wait. Doesn't everybody get hotter the further away they move from a heater?
No. That again is described quite admirably in the second law of thermodynamics. In spite of that, their description of the sun violates, again, that natural law by having it increase its output as you get further away. In other words, it's like moving away from the bonfire because it's a bit too hot. And then when you get 5 meters away rather than 3, you spontaneously combust because it's that much hotter. That's what they've got the sun doing, in violation of natural law, like so many things in the heliocentric model.
Yes, Chocolate. That's why now we have summertime, because we're farther from the sun now.
Because we're further. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, thanks, Brian. That's how I can worship the sun. I can assume we're bowing towards it, right? We're at a little tilt bowing towards the sun. That's how I can worship it. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah. Don't worry about the 3 million miles closer there.
How many degrees?
Is that a 23-degree Mason?
I was just about to ask. How many degrees are we off horizontal again? Is it 66.6 degrees? In the globe model?
No. It's only 23.4. Shh. Not 60. Don't look at the other way. No.
For all the conspiratards out there, feel free. Have a field day.
Yep.
Numbers.
They're not our numbers. They're their numbers.
I think it's just coincidence. Dun, dun, dun.
Of course it's a coincidence of that, we're moving around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. Coincidence.
Don't coincidence. It's just another coincidence. There's lots of those numbers. They just appear in maths often. Why wouldn't they?
Do you know the numerical value of the word coincidence?
What is it?
I'm just making it up. 666, of course.
I've just looked it up on the geometry calculator and it's 33. What do you know?
Oh, well, we got double everything.
Oh, it's 66. Oh, why didn't I double it? I'm so sorry, despite everything. We just didn't listen. I didn't understand you were right.
Maybe that's the key.
You know what's really funny?
The other day on 24/7, somebody came in and we asked him, how do you, what proof do you have for the globe? And he mentioned the circumference, and he said, just square the circumference.
Just square that circle. Was he a Freemason?
Yeah, and that proves it's a globe. So square the circumference you already have, and there you have a globe.
Yeah, you got to square that circle.
And then what? Nothing. Just square it.
No one's taking the bait. We've talked like conspiratards for 2 straight minutes and no. Oh, M1 Bear Swan. Maybe that's a taker. Let's keep it up, lads. Let's maybe talk about the flux capacitor a little more.
Well, 21 gigawatts. What's really funny is that not only what's really funny is not only us, but also NASA, the Freemasons, SpaceX and Elon Musk and all the rest of them, they're all we're all trolling the ballers at the same time.
Why, with NASA defining
All of us.
what is gas pressure, and then showing containment and explaining verbally how it's the force exerted on the walls of said containment, that sort of thing, that sort of trolling.
Yeah, and then they show you a picture of a magical spinning water ball in a
Yeah, that
vacuum,
kind
and
of thing.
then
Yeah.
and then in their documents they tell you, oh, it's flat and stationary. So you choose. It's like you choose your own adventure. Remember those books? It's like that, but better.
Heat Shay's in the chat. He must have heard us talking about Aristarchus.
What's up, Pete? Been a while, man.
I don't mean I meant the live shows track, not the Discord server.
Here, I'll draw some more out. There's also supposed to be some kind of ratio with the pyramids of Egypt, and also related to the radius of the Earth or something like that. It's been a long time since I heard that. Maybe some of the conspirators can come on and explain it.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that sounds way wackier than is typically utilised here. If all else fails, we get Arwen to babble about Big for a bit, and then that should do the trick.
You mean the same period, the pyramids that were like designed in some way to coincide with the stars and the constellations? I forget which one, but they match at a certain time during the year. I mean, of course that works when you're on a ball spinning around, flying through the universe at about 500,000 miles per hour. Of course, they would reset and match up every year. Sure.
You've raised an interesting question, though, Chocolate, because there is a certain element of deception in what we expose daily. And I'm just going to ask this as a question. Has anybody on the panel actually considered the potential deception that has taken place in other aspects, like history, for example?
Oh, of course. After that shit, I don't even believe it.
Could you define what you mean, Nathan?
What do I mean? Okay, if I was to put it to you that there are people out there that suggest that the pyramids potentially could have been made within a couple of generations of us, in other words, 100 years ago maybe, 200 years ago at a push, there's people out there that speculate that and provide their evidence for their reasoning in that regard. So given that we're told that it's the ancient Egyptian culture and blah, 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 I'm saying, has anybody on the panel considered that, oh, right, so if what we're told is this person assumed the Earth was a sphere, this person measured the geometric horizon, and it all just basically, we're exposing what a load of old bollocks it is. Well, if that's part of documented history, what else is totally farcical in documented history? That's kind of what I'm putting out there.
Well, CNN does fake news from day to day.
Anything really, without checking it. No, even mythology has been changed. Even mythology has been changed from around the world, from what I can find out.
From day to day. From day to day, the news.
I just want to say, as soon as everything.
Hold on, 10th man.
Yeah, what's it? If you think about it, when books started becoming the mainstay, how long ago did books become the mainstay? Who was in charge of books? Do you know what I mean? And what books went to schools where? Stuff like that. It's like there's so much stuff out there that we're told is truth concerning history, and it just can't be. There's so much evidence against it. Thank you.
Go on, 10th.
Yeah, the day to day we see fake news. Something you see with your eyes happening as a current event, then you watch the news the same night, you were there, and they reported as something totally different. They're always skewing everything.
Yeah, I think everything gets thrown into that category of it might have just been bullshit. You know what I mean?
Well, I have actually firsthand experience of news like that. Firsthand. If anybody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
When I was in the military, I was stationed up at Tonopah Test Range with the stealth program during the original Gulf War back in the day. And I was watching the local news. Now, this is local news. This is like the news there in Las Vegas. reporting on what was going on at Nellis and reporting on what we were doing. Okay. And I was listening. I knew what was going on because guess what? I'm in the middle of it. I'm hearing from the generals. I'm hearing from all the commanders what's going on, who's doing deploy, what's happening. We know what's going on. Now we're locked down, so information can't get out, because we're locked down. But I'm watching the news, and I'm going like, they're only getting about 3% of this right. I think I figured it out. About 3% of the information that they were pushing on the local news was about 3% right. And I'm going like, I don't trust the news ever again. And you put that at a national level, at a world level, it can even the exponential problem with it, as you can imagine. And that's the local news.
Sure. Yeah, I can believe it. I don't trust anything the news says. I haven't watched mainstream news since I was 8. I literally have no time for it whatsoever. And there's a downside to that. I'm not exactly Mr. Current Affairs. Half the time I don't know what's going on. But I'm more than happy to not know what's going on, because what's going on is just what you're being told as a story. So, do I need the tales and the stories? Not really, because it's most of the time completely irrelevant to what's really going on. And, half the time it's just brainwashing and programming. We're exposing one specific detailed aspect of it. Yeah, it's nice to occasionally highlight the fact that, just in case you hadn't clocked, if we're exposing one thing in history that's a complete sham and a complete lie, and we can easily identify it, especially as it's been called science, there are other areas of inquiry that you might need to consider, given the scale of this particular lie that we're exposing. Yes, ours is very specific, but, there are plenty of people out there that expose all sorts of other things. Technically, they'll just get shut down. If they're trying to expose something that's happening right now, you'll just lose your channel. So just don't do it. Don't mess with the magic.
Rumpus is in chat. I'd like for him to come and tell us the mass equals mass through the scientific method that got all botched up yesterday. We never got to finish that.
Yeah, we did. We got the full hypothesis written down.
With him to be able to answer. I
don't need an hour of confiscation from Rumpus. We got to the conclusion and then laughed at him. At the point that he no longer had any requirement, he was surplus to requirements. We just sat there laughing at his IV and DV being the same, and it being something that's undefined or often defined with an equivocation. So, no, you're not going to be able to get anything out of him other than a load of obfuscation of how he's managed to formulate such a nonsense with undefined terms that are identical in both IV and DV. It's the biggest cluster screw there is. What exactly do you want from him, 10th man? I don't see him as useful anymore.
No, I'll tell you what I'm referencing here. Number one, you won't let him go for an hour. That's why I like your show. Number two, I want to see him double, triple down on the nonsense that the IV and the DV are the same.
He's all yours.
Hello. So you don't understand the difference between force and mass, then? Is that your problem? You're so moronic. You don't know when I say that the
What's mass,
force. You
Rumpus?
don't understand the difference between those two things. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. You've been talking about gravity for years, and you don't know the difference between mass and force.
I didn't say force and mass. I
amazing.
said IV and DV.
Absolutely
Can we stick
amazing.
to IV and DV?
He's going to come in and start his.
Stop. Everybody stop. Didn't you hear Nathan say he's all of mine? How's everyone trying to get a piece of him already?
Sorry.
Rumpus, what's an IV? What's a DV?
Right. The independent variable is the mass, and the dependent variable is the force between the masses.
Oh, right. So the independent variable mass, dependent variable force. Is that correct?
Go ahead. I missed what you were saying. You interrupted me.
That's not what you said yesterday.
I did. I said exactly that, you twat.
We wrote it down and then laughed at you. You're lying. I'm going to kick him out. So I'm going to ask your permission. As I said, it's all yours. He's just lied. We wrote down what he said.
Well, he didn't even answer my question.
You interrupted me. You either didn't hear it properly, or you interrupted me, or you didn't understand. One of those
He
things.
has no business here. Get him the fuck out.
You see, yeah, you don't like the truth, do you? You don't like a bit of reality thrown at you.
No, explain.
Listen, reality.
Hold on, Chocolate. Go ahead, 10th man.
Sorry.
Before you get kicked out for doing what you normally do, please just explain in the scientific method. Don't give it mass or force. Just tell me what the IV is supposed to be and what the DV is supposed to be. Why are those two critical components?
Well, of course, we've got 3 variables in that we can play with, 2 of which we're holding as controlled variables, and then we're just varying one of the masses. and then that generates a force. The dependent variable is the
Why
force.
are you going to masses and
force? You interrupted me. You just interrupted me. I was giving you the dependent variable. Variable, and you interrupted me. The dependent.
No, you weren't. You gave him. You said there's three. So that's a lie. I'm giving you the dependent variable. That's singular. Now you're bobbling on about lots of different things, and he's trying to qualify how that's possible when you've got a singular being described as having multiples. So he's highlighting that, and you're moaning about how you're getting interrupted. It's typical baller behaviour. He's trying to highlight something that you haven't given clarity to and is incorrect because it's doublespeak. Now, I know that you haven't listened to a single word I've said. That's how it goes with Rumpus. He's not going to listen to this criticism. He's just going to moan indefinitely about how I haven't had a chance to speak. Let's see if I'm right.
The dependent variable is the force between the masses. It's very easy.
So where do we observe that in nature?
All the time. So what's holding you to the ground?
Sorry, that's an assumption. I asked where it was being observed in nature, not for you to beg the question and assume that you've got a force holding us to the ground when gravity's not a force.
It is a force.
Gravity is not really a force at all. End quote. Professor Brian Cox. Or George Musa. Gravity is not a force. But you can think of it as a force. See reification fallacy if you want to think of it as a force.
Am I going to get 10 seconds to reply?
You can suck on my balls if you like. I'm going to tell you it's not a force, and you're going to damn well listen to me. Or you can suck my balls. Choice is yours.
Brian Cox. I heard your quote of Brian Cox, and I'm now...
Yeah, Cox. Let's quote him again. Gravity is not really a force at all.
Right. No,
yeah, that's right. So it's not really a force at all. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Rumpus. Anything more to add? It's not a force.
I'm trying to reply.
What, by telling me right? Yeah, I know I'm right. I know Brian Cox is right. I know George Musa's right. I know gravity is not a force.
I get a chance to reply?
Sorry, where do we observe this force in nature? All over the place, it's holding you to the ground. No, it isn't. That's your assumption that gravity's a force, and gravity is not a force. Maybe you'd like to respond, Scaredy Cat.
Any chance of replying?
Yeah, Scaredy Cat. It's not a force, Scaredy Cat.
I'm not being... I'm not...
Scaredy Cat muttering, Scaredy Cat stammering, Scaredy Cat.
Scared of my art.
Scaredy Cat can't address the fact that he's saying I've got a force holding me down to the ground with a presupposition of something that's not a force. Scaredy Cat, Scaredy Cat, Scaredy Cat, Scaredy Cat.
Sense of my answer.
Your answer was that we've got a force holding us to the ground. I heard your answer. And then I pummeled it with a quote from Professor Brian Cox, making it explicitly clear that it is not a force. Now, you don't have to like it. I gave you your options earlier. Either you can accept that you're wrong, that it's not a force, you're not going to be observing it in nature, because bending pseudo-Ramonian force space is not a force. Not really a force at all, end quote, Brian Cox. Or, George Musa, gravity is not a force. So no, I've pummeled you, but you want to moan about how you haven't had a chance to explain. I've heard you and pummeled you.
Won't let me answer.
Scaredy Cat, can't address he hasn't got a force.
Won't let me answer.
Can't address that he hasn't got a force.
Answer.
You're the biggest bitch of a man I've ever seen in my life. You're a bitch of a man.
Yeah, you're getting told off.
Wait
Go
for
ahead.
the person to finish talking.
Go ahead, Ryan. Tell him off.
Wait for the person to finish talking.
He's a fucking bitch of a man. That's exactly what you are. You're a fucking bitch and you have no business here. Get the fuck out of here and go back to the drawing board, you stupid asshole.
Yeah, he hasn't got a force. But what his response to that is, having not listened to it by talking through it constantly, is to say he hasn't had a chance to answer. He did answer. He said there's a force holding me to the ground. His presupposition was his answer. A logical fallacy begging the question. No, it's not a force was my response to his logical fallacy of begging the question. Now, as is normally the case in any standard debate where you weren't debating with fundamentalist religious zealots, as soon as you point out that they've utilised a fallacy, i.e. begged the question, that would be the end. But that's not good enough with zealots who believe in a globe. No. You've got to go further than that. You've actually got to debunk the logical fallacy of begging the question, which Rumpus did. And point out with their own rhetoric from their own priests that them asserting with a begging the question fallacy that there's a force holding me here doesn't fly when your own priests make it explicitly clear that it's not a force. Response? I haven't got a chance to answer. No, you haven't got a force.
Could I say something to Rumpus if he's there?
You know, I stuck his fingers in the ears the moment I allowed somebody else, Ryan, on the panel he was talking through constantly, to talk to him. The moment I said, no, he can't do that constantly, which is to say, continually obfuscate the point. The moment I stopped him doing that, he wouldn't play ball anymore. He's only here to talk. He's not prepared to listen. So he stuck his fingers in his ears, said, no, I'm not going to listen anymore. Because he's scared. He's a scaredy cat. Arwen was spot on. When he started saying scaredy cat is when I had him absolutely over a barrel with a geometric horizon that cannot be seen or measured. And he said scaredy cat. The reality is it's projection. He was terrified because he's absolutely up against the wall and has nowhere to go. You can't claim you're within 5% of something that cannot be seen or measured. So scaredy cat's his response. He's the scaredy cat because he's got nowhere to go. He's got no force. Other than his presupposition that there's one holding me to the ground. Nah, mate. It's not going to fly. Your own priests disagree with you.
What does he mean by holding
like
it constant?
About second, Neil, sorry. I just want to say that Rumpus and others are referencing the Cavendish observation as an experiment that proves gravity. For a start, it's not an experiment, it's an observation. Secondly, the Cavendish observation took gravity into account as a reality before it ever started, and it took gravity into a reality as a force. Now, we know that mainstream science, in accordance with Albert Einstein of general relativity, has debunked that and called it an effect. So, referencing that as a proof of gravity is completely pointless, as it's referenced in that observation as a force, and it's taken as a reality without any proof. So, I mean, the whole thing is pointless. From basically what I'm saying is, Rumpus, you don't have a good argument. Yeah.
Right. As you saw, I asked him. No, it's all right. You're fine. I'm just saying that when I asked him those questions about the dependent variable and the independent variable, I wanted him to explain in the scientific method what each one's supposed to be. He went on and put the word force and gravity in it as if he's pushing that already. And I just wanted him, for the audience sake, to tell us if he even understood what a dependent variable was. So he should have said a naturally observed phenomenon. Okay, and then the independent variable, through hypothesis, if guessed correctly, would be the cause. But it's independent and it's one variable. But he didn't go there. He wanted to push his gravity and force. I just wanted him to set the rules before he brought in his pseudoscience.
That's correct. His natural phenomena is observed in the Cavendish experiment. In other words, there is no natural phenomena of mass attracting mass. They observed this claimed phenomena within the apparatus, in the experiment. So they observe natural phenomena, that's the step, according to them, step 1, at step 3. So not observe phenomena, formulate a hypothesis, assume the cause, and then do an experiment. No. They start with an experiment, a contraption, where they claim they observe mass attracting mass, even though that wand has been snapped in two by Einstein. And now, as correctly identified by Brian, it's described in pseudo-Ramonian force space, Einsteinian mathematics, as an effect in a conceptual medium caused by the uneven distribution of mass. So we've got an effect of bending space-time caused by uneven distribution of mass in pseudo-Ramonian force-based mathematics. Not a force. But they'll come here and they'll constantly parrot 105-year out-of-date rhetoric because they need a force. And if they can't get away with begging the question, they'll rumpus the crap out of the end of the live show. But with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!